You are watching On Demand. Please do not try to vote or enter any competition or other interactivity in this programme, as it may not count and you may still be charged.
Hello and welcome to your final loose lunch of the week and tucking into an all-you-can-eat buffet of tasty topics this Friday. It's Frankie Bridge, Katie Piper, Nadia Zawala and me, Kay Adams. Coming off, we're off to Downton.
Do you know the new heir? He's Robert's third cousin, once removed. I have never, to my knowledge, set eyes on him.
Because of your late husband having forced me to sign that absurd act of legal theft.
My dear, I didn't come here to fight. You're...
Oh, I love it. I can't wait. Elizabeth McGovern, who plays Lady Cora, will be telling us about the latest Downton movie and why her new role sees her stepping into the shoes of a femme fatale. Also today...
It feels weird to be back here. There was a time when I was really struggling after my daughter was born. And there was a moment on a train after work. And I remember just crying. There were people around me. And yeah, it was...
Yeah, we're meeting Dad Elliot Ray, who was diagnosed with PTSD after witnessing his daughter's distressing birth. He's going to be shining a light on the little talked about subject of post-birth trauma in men. And where do you stand on our big homework debate? Should it be banned for primary school kids? We're going head-to-head on that at 1:15. Well, basically, it's me against this three. I'm in trouble. But first, everyone's favourite female mouse has had a bit of a makeover. To celebrate Women's History Month, Disney have ditched Minnie Mouse's trademark mini dress and heels for a progressive polka dot play suit. There she is. So, what do we think of this? I've already done taking the Mickey joke, so Nadia, do you think it was a mistake?
All right. Oh dear.
I have so many questions. I mean, it's a mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in a dress. I've never looked at Minnie Mouse and thought, well, she's been a bit sexy there.
Well, I don't know if it's about being sexy. I mean, they say progressive, so maybe frilly skirt, high heels, maybe they see as being like old-fashioned or, you know, disempowering. I don't know.
Because it's saying that there's something sexy and something, you know...
You're obsessed with sex, though, aren't you? I mean, she is.
But what is it?
But it is assuming that that's the issue that
Yeah.
they have with it. I suppose it's saying, look, you can be a girl and wear trousers too, which is great. But also, I feel like it's a little bit like woman shaming. It's like, oh, OK, now you can only be a powerful woman in flats and a trouser suit. And if you're wearing heels and a dress, you're not going to be taken seriously.
But it is a mouse.
I know it's a mouse.
I think we're mouse shaming.
They're the ones that have started this. So now we're going to talk about it.
You started it, Disney. You started it.
I didn't realise it was Stella McCartney, so that's a different story.
For me, it's always been tinged with misogyny because it's always been all about Mickey. When you go to Disneyland, it's, you know, Minnie's always two steps
Are we having this
behind him.
conversation?
It's Mickey's house.
And also Mickey, no one's flagged. He's topless, his nipples are out.
No, I've never seen Mickey's nipples.
He's still topless and gets away with it.
But, I mean, do you not... I mean, leggings can be a bit more... I mean, you always say this, Kay, about leggings. You're a bit funny about leggings, aren't you?
Don't you throw that one at me, lady.
I mean, you think it flashes a bit too much, a legging.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about the female anatomy...
It's a mouse.
Yeah, I know, but
She's not just a mouse.
if you are talking about the female anatomy,
Yeah.
I actually think that leggings are more revealing.
Well, they are quite revealing, aren't they? Because they really show off a shape, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, I just kind of think on this that as adults, obviously we want to create a really progressive world for our kids where they all feel accepted and, you know, they feel that they can do everything and anything, and I think that is wonderful. But I do sometimes think that we overthink it as adults. And actually, kids are kids and they see the world a very different way than we do.
Yeah.
And with Minnie Mouse in her traditional garb, I mean, both of my kids had a lovely little Minnie Mouse that they adored. But, they chucked it up trees, they chucked it out the window, which makes them sound like psychopaths, doesn't it? But you know what I mean? It didn't mean that they were nice little girls who wore pretty skirts and never did anything.
Honestly, I agree. I don't think Minnie Mouse being in her polka dot dress hampers my daughter's ambitions or makes her think she can't dress like that
Well,
and
now
still
she's in a
have
onesie
goals
all day.
and dreams.
She's in a onesie now. That's not very...
Children don't notice these things, and it didn't change my direction in life, and I loved Walt Disney.
Yeah,
You know?
I know. And I think as well, they're more likely to be influenced by a person, less so by a mouse, personally. Do you know what I mean? Though? But the
I
people
do
they see
feel
on
like-
TV and the people they read about and the things that people that they actually know, especially Minnie and this, like, it's not like she really gives off... To me, she doesn't really give off...
Do you know the other
Great
interesting thing?
social media influencer or influencer on your daughter is yourself. So it's always about the conversations you're having at home, just not... I mean, I do feel like we've all gone completely bonkers here. We are talking about whether Minnie Mouse...
I know.
should wear
And do you know, the other thing that just occurs to me is back to a woman's appearance, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
You're defined by
exactly.
appearance.
Yeah, Mickey's not changed his outfit.
No, he's
But
not.
the thing
He
about
needs a top.
Mickey and Minnie is they can't talk. So wait,
They're mice!
no, not the
They
mice.
can't tell us what they want to wear, is that what you're saying?
No, but she doesn't have a voice. And that's what women need. They need a voice. And she's not going to be somehow transformed by wearing a pantsuit. And let me get right back to what you said. She's a mouse.
So let her have her skirt and let her speak.
Yes.
That's what- yeah,
But it takes you back to that question of, will I
Well,
not be
listen-
taken seriously if I wear a dress?
Well,
as a
let's
woman,
take this
you know?
on. Let's take
Yeah.
this on, because here's another story that I think is kind of got... There's a theme emerging here. It's almost as if it's planned. This is a security company in Italy which has been investigated after advertising for a young female receptionist who must have a sunny character with an attractive appearance and be no older than 30. You're out, Frankie.
Did you wait to say that all morning?
I have, yeah. And along with their CV, they've got to send in a picture of themselves wearing a bathing suit as part of their application.
So I just think like everyone kind of homes in on the whole, like they've got to be younger than 30, they've got to be attractive. I'm like, these are people asking women, young women, to send in pictures of themselves in a bathing suit. They're not just asking for a headshot. They've been so specific. It says something like bathing suit or something similar. I just am like, how...
The
I mean,
courage.
they must have some big balls to put that out there. Do you know what I mean? To be like...
I mean, it's so outrageous, I think. Is this a PR stunt? Are they just trying to be noted? I mean, surely nobody in this day and age
not good PR,
is going to be
surely.
advertising for a receptionist job. It's a security firm, for God's sake. I mean, you're going to be really useful standing there in a bathing suit.
I'd love to know who their applicants are.
Yeah.
But there is an honesty to it, to a certain extent, because even now, although we are, and I mean, Katie, I know you're really across this, we are much more careful about our language, and of course that is outrageous. I wonder how many people put out adverts for a receptionist, and despite what they say on their application, actually, what they are looking is for a young woman under the age of 30 who looks pretty.
It's really difficult because we live in this digital world where it's really acceptable to, if you're going to meet someone, Google them, look at their picture, judge them, see what they're wearing. And a lot of people exist online and feel it's the norm, but there is a section of society that aren't comfortable with that, and it's very much not the norm for them. And, you know, if I speak about my own experience of you know, being disfigured in my 20s, I had a period in my life, sort of more immediately after the injury, where I wasn't in the digital world. I wasn't comfortable with having my photo taken. I didn't feel photogenic. I didn't feel my appearance even represented how I felt on the inside. And I just didn't take part in it. And if I'd had to apply for a job that had a picture, I wouldn't have been able to. And I know now from the people I mentor at my charity who aren't even sort of recently burnt. Maybe they were burnt years ago and now want to go back into employment. And all these interviews are on Zoom. So this isn't even about photos. This is about having to go on video call, constantly look at yourself, which can take some people off guard. They don't perform well in the interview. They feel judged about their appearance. So they're now excluded. And it does fall in discrimination, you know. And there are people without disfigurements that just don't feel photogenic, don't feel comfortable like that, you know.
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because we do judge each other on
Yeah.
all sorts of different things. I mean, obviously, on appearance, you know, we can't get away from that. But is that an argument for never asking for a picture or not? I'm genuinely not sure.
I would argue to never ask for a picture because
Would
I
you?
think, first of all, it would have to be on your merit what have you done, what's your experience, who are you, what are you, and then give the person to come in and be a whole 360-degree person talking to you, engaging with you. I mean, if I just... I always have this joke with my elder sister, Dina, you know, I've learned over years, I always hated having my photograph taken, but I've learned over the years, you know, to sit a certain way. My sister, who's much smarter than me, much prettier than me, everything, she's absolutely... She takes a photo and she's like... and you would get completely the wrong impression of her if you just had that photo. And I know that
but we all have different prejudices, don't you? I mean, if I was an employer and I got in CVs and they had the pictures, I might discriminate against the really glamorous one. Because I have...
both ways, yeah.
Also, when you turn up, though, they're still going to discriminate against you anyway, because if you walk in and they're looking for someone pretty, they've wasted your time.
You get that moment to pitch, that elevator pitch, to be more than just your appearance.
Exactly.
And but I think we have to normalise it's OK to be that friend that jumps out of the group shot. It's OK to not be like your sister and not want your picture taken. Exactly. And not every... Some people, it just fills them with horror, the thought of having to have their picture taken, and that's all right. Doesn't mean if you submit an application form and you don't put a picture in, you're not trustworthy, you're not a good candidate, and that will be the territory.
It's moving towards that, though, isn't it? Because everything is about that one chance with that one image. I think it's scary.
It's trying to find that perfect solution for everyone, and it doesn't exist. So what we have to allow is for different people to be the way they want to be. You want to send a photograph, send a photograph. If you don't want to send a photograph, send a photograph.
But then you're open to why didn't the person send a photograph?
What are they hiding?
Sadly,
but then also this is very specific. In a bikini.
Well, can I just say...
She's not actually forgotten that.
Can I just say that they have withdrawn the advert? Surprise, surprise. But listen, we have some shocking results in our Minnie Mouse poll. Right. What do you expect? Do you prefer Minnie Mouse in her original outfit or in her new play suit? It's unequivocal, I'm afraid. 95% like old Minnie.
Oh,
you don't like change.
She's a classic.
I don't think she's a good role model to be in her pyjamas all day long. She's got things to get on with.
She's
got
a cartoon
businesses to run.
But they're Stella McCartney.
Don't care.
And listen, well done as coming as Orville today. That's really, really nice to get into this.
I mean, I've just done a whole section on not judging people and how they look.
But also, Frankie, you look $1 million.
Thank you.
Don't try and retrieve it now.
She does.
No. I'll take it because you've got very high hair today, and we've had that discussion off camera. So
if I were to tell people some of the things that you'd said about me today, Frankie, still to come, we're debating banning homework, and we're talking about Brad Pitt's rumoured new lover. And in a few minutes, Downton Abbey's Elizabeth McGovern tells us about taking her husband to work in the new movie sequel and how her new role has taken her to Hollywood. All that when we come back. Get off me. Nice to see you again. Coming up, we're meeting the dad who developed PTSD after witnessing his daughter's traumatic birth. And should we ban homework? We're going head-to-head on that in around 30 minutes. But it is competition time first, and this one is worthy of a weekend. We'll go on, Orville, give it. Woo! £96,000 on offer. And it's the final day to see how you can win. Here's Shan Welby with the details.
I'm annoyed that
There's an incredible £96,000 in cash to be won, and it could be yours. Imagine what you could spend that on.
I won £95,000. I entered online. When I got the winning call, I was at work. So all my work friends knew before my husband. The whole place was just screaming. As soon as we got the money, we gave our children some money. But we're planning a holiday. We can do these things and not worry about where the money's coming from.
But hurry, lines close at 3 p.m. today. For another chance to win £96,000 in cash, text WIN to 86060. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website, entries cost £2. Call 09068 786060. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to DY50 PO Box 7558 Derby DE1 0NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close today at 3 p.m. Good luck!
Now it's time for our first guest this Friday, and the cast of Downton Abbey are preparing to go to head from the countryside to the continent in their new movie. Elizabeth McGovern will tell us all about that, and of course her new play in just a moment. But let's remind ourselves of her character, Lady Cora, showing her more caring side.
Mrs. Hughes, I understand that you're not well.
Whom do you understand that from? Because if the doctor...
It wasn't Dr. Clarkson.
It is not confirmed that I am ill, Your Ladyship. I've had a test and I'm waiting for the results. But I am perfectly capable.
Mrs. Hughes, I only want to say one thing. That if you are ill, you are welcome here for as long as you want to stay. Lady Sybil will help us to find a suitable nurse.
I see.
I don't want you to have any concerns about where you'll go or who'll look after you, because the answer is here, and we will.
Oh, that's reminded me why I love Downton so much. Please welcome Elizabeth McGovern.
Thank you.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Welcome very much.
Oh, it's lovely to see you. Lovely to see you.
Very nice to be here.
Now, I know there's very little you can tell us about the new Downton movie because it's all very much under wraps. I think it's April this year, hopefully it's coming out. But I believe the family is off to France, is that right? It's the Roaring Twenties?
Yes, I've been forbidden even to say that, but...
Oh, I'm sorry, I think that is out there.
It's out.
Good stuff.
Sorry. Not that it's any big deal. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I can tell you it's good. I mean, that's what I hear. I haven't even seen it. There's not too much I can say.
You haven't seen it?
No, not yet, no. It's not quite finished.
Wasn't it your husband, Simon Curtis, that directed it? How is it working together and seeing him in a completely
Yeah, it's nice to
different
see
place?
him in a professional capacity. He's kind of become the guy who leaves his socks around the house. You know, it's nice to see him in such a confident, good place professionally, and everybody absolutely loved him, and he did so well. So I was very, very proud.
It always makes me fancy my husband a bit more when he's at work.
Sure, it's sexy.
Oh, actually, you'd be rather nice. I might take you home.
Exactly.
I want to ask you about your play, The Secret Conversations. This is about Ava Gardner.
Correct.
You've adapted that. It was, and
that's right.
And this is based on letters that she wrote.
No, actually, I mean, it was a book that I found on my bookshelf. And, of course, Ava Gardner is a role that anybody would give their right arm to play. But the idea of doing her biography on stage was not so interesting to me.
Right.
It seemed like it would be just a series of, oh, and then this happened, and then this happened. And it just ends up being sort of regurgitating the same old gossip about her. But what this book is, it's the attempt of this biographer to write her biography that they never ended up publishing. And after she died, he just published all the conversations they had in this year they spent in each other's company in her flat in Ennismore Gardens. And it's a really entertaining look at an absolutely fabulous character. She was funny, had so much compassion. Humility.
I grew up so intrigued with her because my grandfather, who worked in the movie business, he was a special effects guy, and he worked on a movie with her. And I can remember ever since I was a tiny girl, he would just go off. I think he was madly in love with her. I really do.
I haven't met a person who wasn't. I mean, she was aggravating.
Yeah.
There was just something about her that...
She swore like a
there is
trooper.
swearing in this play, I have to warn. It's a bit dirty.
Oh, good, I love it.
She was a very progressive character, shall we say?
She really was without realizing it. She had a very humble attitude toward herself, but she lived her life like a liberated woman and in a time when it wasn't cool to do that.
Wow.
And she suffered the consequences. I mean, in the play, I try to give us a depiction of the machismo of the Hollywood in which she lived and how she navigated it without any sense of being a feminist. She just had her appetites and she enjoyed them. And I think it's very interesting to look at that from today's perspective because it is our legacy. I mean, things are changing, but it wasn't so long ago that she put up with the kinds of things she put up with and dealt with everything with compassion and humor. And that is what I fell in love with about her.
It's so interesting reflecting on that time because, you know, it's such a different generation. I know you have a daughter and we talk, you know, we've named it now, Me Too.
Yeah.
Do you feel that things are moving in the right direction? Do you have hopes that it's going to be different for your daughter?
I do. I feel quite confident it is going to be. I see it is already. I see their attitude is so different from mine. I think the amazing thing for me is how much we accepted without questioning.
Yeah.
And that isn't happening anymore. We're at least questioning. And one of the things I love about playing Ava Gardner is she's looking back and trying to come to terms with her life, but she looks at everything and everybody who she dealt with compassion and with heart, even though she was treated very badly by men a lot of the time.
In what way?
Well, yeah, come to the play. Oh. You'll see. There's lots to see there.
No spoilers.
And also the imagery
of Frank Sinatra,
Mickey Rooney, Artie Shaw, Howard Hughes. I mean, you know, she really lived it. Her famous line is, "I made movies, I made out, I made a mess of my life, but I never made jam." That's her legacy.
I love that. Yeah. I want that up in my kitchen.
Exactly. May we all be so lucky.
Has it made you reflect on your own experiences then? Because, you know, you've delved into Ava Gardner, you've got your own daughters, and you see how they've changed. But, I mean, stardom came for you when you were 19.
Yeah, I think that is what gave me confidence to write this play, because I feel like I could draw on my own memories and experiences, although my life was so different to Ava's. I'm not going to pretend that there was any total parallel, but I do definitely I go into my own sense memory in the writing of it. And also my love of movies. I mean, what we're trying to do in the play is use cinematic language. So a lot of it is a real homage to those beautiful old movies that she made, the imagery that is so stunning, and the characters that are actually wonderful. Yeah. It's an old Hollywood that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah. Would you like to have been a movie star in those days?
No.
Good.
No?
Go see the play.
Yeah.
It takes a toll. It took a toll on her. You know?
It looked all great, and like you know, like my granddad said, you know, she had this incredible command of the set, but like he'd never seen anything like, he'd never seen a woman like it before. That's what he always said. Well, but as you say, behind the scenes, so much pain and anguish and misogyny and all that stuff. So yeah.
And at the end of the play, she says to her biographer that her. And this is taken straight from the book, she just wants him to know she's just an ordinary woman. She didn't have that kind of impact on people, but I think the fact that people projected so much on her was quite a burden for her to bear.
Yeah.
And she wants nothing but to shed that at the end of her life, which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, you described it beautifully. I want to go and watch it
now. Please,
it is a secret conversation.
Theatre, and I'll see you after.
Yeah, love Riverside. It's the Riverside.
Secret Conversations. It's on until April 16th at Trafalgar Studios.
Riverside Studios. Yeah, the Hammersmith.
Thank you. Coming up, is it time to stop giving primary school kids homework? Very strong views here. And in just a minute, we're meeting the father who got PTSD after witnessing his daughter's birth. Elliot Ray is raising awareness of the need to prioritise dads after the baby is born. So talking to Elliot after this. Welcome back to your last Loose Women of the Week. And yes, it's Friday. You've made it through the week. And with you for the next half an hour alongside me, Kay Adams, it's Frankie Bridge, Nadia Sawala and Katie Piper. Coming up, do you know your algebra from your alphabet and your science from your sociology? Well, you're not alone. We're talking about the parents who struggle with their kids' homework. Stop sniggering at the back, Sawala.
Hey, it's a terrible time of it.
Yeah. And is it time to ditch it? Homework, that is. And from Sunita to Gwynnie and Jennifer to Jolie, Brad Pitt has apparently got a new squeeze. But who is she? We'll find out later. Now, every parent knows just how stressful those first few moments of a child's birth are, anxiously waiting to hear your newborn cry for the first time. But for some, that wave of instant relief doesn't come, and suddenly they're thrust into every parent's worst nightmare, something that our next guest, Dad Elliot Ray, experienced.
I don't often talk about the birth of our daughter because it was quite traumatic. I think my contraction started at like 5 a.m. Saturday morning and I gave birth around kind of 3 a.m. Sunday morning. They put her onto me and she was grey. And I was like, she's not meant to look like that. It was really hard.
And I felt like I was watching it in the third person. Like I literally felt like I was seeing, I was above myself just watching it all. and just trying to trust these doctors that I'd met that day to save my family's life.
Oh. That's from a new BBC documentary, Becoming Dad, and Elliot joins us now. Elliot, really lovely to have you here. And I could see even in there, 6 years on, Eleni's now 6, the emotion is still there for you. We often talk about the woman in that situation because clearly your wife was, you know, giving birth. What was happening? What were you taking in? How was it feeling for you?
Yeah, it was a difficult moment, you know. As you said at the beginning, you expect that moment for your baby to come out and cry and it ought to be joyous. But that didn't happen. She was lifeless. She had to be resuscitated. Doctors were getting fluid out of her airways just getting fluid out of her airways. And then my wife was also losing a lot of blood as well. And it's a real moment, you know, in my adult life, feeling helpless, numb, and just looking on and just hoping that it'll be okay.
Was the situation quite sort of, where there was suddenly a lot of doctors and a lot of people and confusion almost in there with you?
Yes, there was 7 or 8 doctors around my daughter and the same around my wife as well. And they're just having conversations about what they can do. And
I suppose at that point they're not thinking about how you might hear stuff because they're just into saving life, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. And for me it was kind of like an out-of-body experience because you don't expect it at all. Like, I thought it was going to be all good and it would be fine. So completely taken by surprise and just watching things like it's not your life.
Must have felt so helpless.
And just felt helpless. And looking at it like I'm looking at it like a CCTV camera and just seeing it all happening in front of me. So, yeah, really, really difficult moment. And then they said, you know, do you want to go to ICU or do you want to stay with your wife? And I said, you know, I'll go with my daughter. And we went through this corridor. I remember in the hospital going through this corridor and just wanting to phone my mum because not knowing what to do.
Of course.
They didn't have any reception in that part of the hospital, so I couldn't. And then getting to the ICU and this nurse looking at me and saying, like, you need to come back with us. You need to be present.
Because when you left the operating theatre, you were hearing things like, she's bleeding out, your daughter wasn't breathing, and so it must have been like a...
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine how awful... Do you feel that you were losing it a bit then at that point when you were in the ICU?
I felt like I wasn't there. You know, like it was a kind of complete disconnect to what was happening, like a dream. And it wasn't until I got to the ICU and the nurse looked at me in the eye and said very assertively, you need to come back, you need to be present. And that was good for me, actually, because it kind of brought me back and realised that I'm literally a dad now and I need to be present for my family. And then they took us into this side room and I met other parents as well. So there were other parents at the beginning of an ICU morning. You can kind of gather and then you go and have a private consultation.
Yeah.
So those parents, they were amazing because they were like, look, this is how you need to be. You need to be an advocate for your daughter. You need to look at what medication they're having. You need to be on top of things. Of course, it's emotive, but you still have to do your best to try and help, you know? And then I kind of, from there, realised that, yeah, my role is as a dad and I need to look after my daughter, make sure she's getting the best care. And so for the 2 weeks after, it was kind of that mode that I was in.
Because that speed of being thrusted into it, into trauma, you know, like you said, eventually you sort of realise, OK, this is what I'm doing, I'm being her voice. But to be thrusted into trauma like that is incredibly stressful and difficult.
Yeah, it was.
You know? And it's not when you go to all these NCT classes, that's not the journey you're sold as a new parent.
I mean, Elliot, I mean, thankfully, you know, after a time, your wife is well, your daughter is well, but at what point did you realise that you hadn't really processed this and this was really still dragging you down?
Yeah, so we spent 2 weeks in hospital and then because in the UK we only get 2 weeks of paternity leave, which, you know, we are campaigning to get more. So it was a few days off and back to work into quite a busy job, full-time role. And for us, both of us, me and my wife, very paranoid. We were going to A&E most weeks. We were at A&E just worried about any little health scare. And struggling to process and understand and accept what had happened. And just difficult moments, you know, find it difficult to sleep. Flashbacks of what had happened going through my mind. Becoming anxious. I was never an anxious person before. You know, going to work and struggling to say hello in the morning to my team or struggling to input into a meeting when I had actually some important stuff to say, finding it difficult to speak. And so those kind of things just let me know this was something that was with me and I couldn't really budge. And it just kind of built. And then what happens is you worry about being worried. You know, you worry about what's going on. Why am I not sleeping? Why can't I be my normal self? Why am I not the normal, confident person that I am?
But you were given a sort of formal diagnosis of PTSD, weren't you?
Eventually, yeah, kind of by accident, actually. So, 18 months afterwards, by this time I'd started writing about my just being a dad. And I spoke to someone who was doing some stuff around mental health, perinatal mental health. And they talked to me about the birth. And that was the first time someone had really spoken to me and asked me the deep questions. And I kind of broke down explaining to her what had happened. And she recommended I speak to someone. And then I eventually did speak to a specialist, a birth trauma specialist. And she gave me the diagnosis and I had some conversations with her. But for the first 18 months, I just kind of got on with it. I didn't think it was something that happened to men.
Do you feel like that was a conversation that was probably mostly had with your wife as, you know, as the woman, they're the one that are pregnant, they give birth? I often feel like the men in the situation get left behind. You know, no one asks you, are you okay? How are you coping with it? And like you said, you knew you had to be strong, which obviously you did in that moment, but also maybe that, you know, having to stay strong, it was a trauma for you as well,
definitely.
and for so many other men.
Yeah, so my daughter was born in 2015. So throughout 2016, at that point, it's changed now, gladly, in some NHS trusts, but at the time, there wasn't any regular assessments for dads who'd been through any traumatic birth or whose partners were experiencing mental health conditions. There was nothing like that. So it wasn't forthcoming, but at the same time, I didn't think I could seek it either. So at no point did I ever think, oh, this is something I should seek professional help for. It didn't cross my mind at all.
When you got the diagnosis, it's clarity, OK, this is what's going on. But post-traumatic stress disorder, it's not like you just get a cure and then you go on your way. You know, how are you now? Because triggers can pull you back, sounds, smells. It's not always a consistent recovery.
No, I'm good now. I mean, it was 6 years ago now. I have had the support. And I think doing what I do now, it is kind of like my way of therapy, I guess.
I get that.
You know, working with other dads.
Purpose.
And purpose.
Yeah.
So now I kind of, even though it was a devastating experience, I do believe it was part of my life's journey.
Yeah.
And part of what I was here to do and the reason why I'm doing the work I do now. So.
Well, I have huge respect for you, what you're doing. I really admire how you've coped and how you're helping other people. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And your forum is called Music, Football, Fatherhood, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
And people can find you online and you've got all sorts of kind of activities and support and conversations going on.
So we're all about open conversations about being a dad. And we tried to create those open environments, you know, where dads can come and share their stories, meet other like-minded people. We do that for our podcast, for our online meetups. We do events with football clubs. We've got a book called Dad we've published. It's called Dad, Untold Stories of Fatherhood, Love, Mental Health and Masculinity. And I'm so proud of the book. It's so powerful. It's 20 dads that have come together from different backgrounds, different races, sexualities, all across the UK. And they're sharing their stories, some really devastating stories. But what brings them together is that they're being vulnerable and being open. And I think what we've heard from dads is that it lets them know when they read it, they're not alone. There's someone else that's been through their experience, you know, and that is so powerful just to know there's someone else that's been through what you've been through.
Well, listen, it's brilliant for us too to get your perspective, so thank you so much, Elliot, for coming in and telling us all about it. And of course, the documentary is out there for people to see as well. For anyone who might be struggling or wants more information, there are lots of helpline details on our website and info on our Stand By Your Men campaign to encourage men to talk. Two great debates on the way. Should homework be banned in primary schools? And is it a good idea to do a Brad Pitt and date someone on your doorstep? We're back after this. Oh, welcome back. Breaking news. We've had an update from Disney. This is not the first time that Minnie has worn pants. Oh! Yes! We have been talking about this. Disney have been in touch. Minnie is only going to wear... If you didn't see the beginning of the show, you won't know what the heck I'm talking about. But this is what I'm talking about. You know, Minnie has appeared in a pantsuit. Apparently... She will wear it at Walt Disney Studio Parks for a limited time only. It will not replace her signature looks. It's just one of many new offerings that guests can experience. And she has an expansive closet, this mouse, of more than 200 different outfits.
Well, we stand corrected then, don't we?
Yes,
Isn't that funny? I only ever remember...
She has a pink dress.
Oh, she's got pink dress. Trust Katie to know.
In the cartoon, she wears pink.
Yeah, she does.
Like, out and about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just remember, people, this is not the first time that Minnie has worn pants.
And maybe next time she'll be in a green tight dress like me.
Are you wearing pants? Anyway, it's competition time again. Lions close at 3 o'clock today. Shan Welby's back. She sometimes forgets. Shan Welby is back with the details.
There's an incredible £96,000 in cash to be won to spend on anything you'd like.
When we won our competition, it was 85,000 and a Mercedes. I just felt lucky, maybe, and just kept texting. We were just shocked, weren't we? We got the phone call, and it's still in shock now. You just never think you're going to win, it's going to happen to you. And then it did.
Yeah, just have a nice family holiday.
I think it's needed, isn't it, after the last couple of years? So, yeah, looking forward to going on holiday.
But hurry, lines close at 3 p.m. today. For another chance to win £96,000 in cash, text WIN to 86060. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website, entries cost £2. Call 09068 786060. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and phone number to DY50 PO Box 7558 Derby DE1 0NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close today at 3 p.m. Good luck!
Now, we're talking about homework for primary school kids now. Is it a good way to teach them discipline, or is it too much too young? This is after research found millions of parents are struggling to help their children with maths homework because they struggle with the subjects themselves. Does that sound familiar, Frankie, at all?
Yes. I mean, my kids are 6 and 8, and I have to be honest, for, like, quickness, and sometimes because I don't know the answers, I have to use a calculator, and they're 6 and 8, and I'm like, by the time they're older, I'm not going to be able to help them at all. Yes, but it is. It is the parents' homework, which is why I think they shouldn't get it. Because especially at primary school, secondary school, I understand. They've got exams, you know, you're starting to try and teach them to take responsibility for themselves. And I know you are trying to teach that with younger kids as well. But I think, you know, they spend all day working at school. Yes, they have playtime, but it's like they should just get to be kids. And if they don't know the answers, you're either sat there giving it to them, or they're getting stressed out, like my son. He gets upset and he gets worked up and he can't do it, and then he loses confidence. And also, you know, I'm lucky because I'm at home, but there's loads of parents that work, don't have time to sit down with their kids and do a whole blooming math sheet, and then, you know, then they're back at school again the next day. My son said to me once, "Oh, Mummy, all I do is wake up, go to school, come home, do homework, go to bed." And I was like, well, yeah, that's what you've got for the rest of your life.
Yeah, but
he shouldn't have to
do
that now.
It's going to hit him like a train when he gets to 11 and he's got to go to secondary school, isn't it? Because you can't avoid that forever.
Yeah, but he's older and easier to cope with it, and he knows
I totally agree.
I mean,
with when Kiki was little and at primary school, God, it's a whole new thing, her going back to secondary school now. When she comes home with her homework, I say, I'll make hot chocolate and I'll deliver cake, but you're on your own otherwise, because I just can't get any of it. But I was exactly the same as that. I just felt like I was on this cycle of, like, this con, where, because I would say, well, let's leave it, you don't understand it. But then there would be tears, because if I go to school and I haven't done, not that the teachers would be horrible, but there would be that sense of value.
Or if they get their spellings wrong, they'll get upset.
Spellings get... And the other thing was that really started to affect her sleep, because I think when you're at primary school, when I went to primary school, we never had homework. You need to come back, decompress, spend family time, hang out, you know, read, play, watch a movie, play in the garden, all that sort of stuff. Because we're talking about 6 years old.
Sweetheart.
Is too young.
I agree.
But also,
secondary is different. And I do support what you're saying, Kay, because I love reading and doing the spellings. And, you know, we do the reading books at night time with the children.
That's good,
Yeah, and that supported learning in the home is good. But I know what Frankie's saying, and I was in the calculator crew when we were doing the homeschooling, Googling everything under the desk. And I think what's behind that homework being submitted is a big showdown, their confidence being stripped, a tantrum in the house, and sometimes us just doing the homework for them just because we need to get them to bed and we need to ease the argument. So maybe not banning it, but I think making it optional. You know, if you had a portal for the maths and you could log into this portal, do a bit of maths, do some times tables and division, but if you don't, you won't stand out from the class that you haven't
do, though, because then you've got those competitive parents that are like, well, Marjorie's done all her homework.
But when do parents become involved? That's the thing. I mean, like, my mum and dad never helped me with my homework. They were busy, they were working, they weren't in at night, so I did my homework.
Different era.
Yeah, times are different.
But I never helped my children with their homework. They did their homework, and if they couldn't do it...
Not all children
need supervision.
But they did. Of course they did.
I think the homework they get set is something that they should know and be able to do, and if it's something that they're still struggling with, they shouldn't get sent home with it.
Oh, breaking news. Apparently 68% of people that have messaged in today think also it should be scrapped. I don't think it should be scrapped. I think parents should be able to make that decision. My child isn't sleeping properly, my child is stressed, my child's unhappy, we're arguing instead of having any family time, and they're 6.
Well, and that... Oops, I've just been told to shut up.
I thought something else had happened from the look on your face.
Right then, we're off to Hollywood now.
But we love and appreciate you, Kay.
Keep doing that homework.
Yeah. And in particular, we're going to Brad Pitt's house in Los Feliz in sunny LA. Not literally, sadly, because the showbiz rumour mill, there's a wash with rumours that Brad is getting over his divorce from Angelina Jolie by cozying up with Swedish pop star Lucky Lee, who lives just around the corner. But is it a good idea to be dating on your doorstep? And we found out this morning, didn't we, girls, that Katie's a bit of an expert on this.
Hold on, right, don't quote me. I grew up in a village, and I've got one sentence to say on this, that it's a somewhat limited dating pool that you are fishing in when you date the locals, so you do have to branch out.
The locals? I was desperate to get a local boyfriend. Me and my sisters used to get dolled up to the nines, sashay back and forth past the garages.
You should have been doing your homework. That's your
swinging the occasional bottle of cider.
I don't think Brad and what's-her-face met by the garages. I don't know how they met. I'm like, does she go in there for some sugar? Does she have to go knock on the door? Do you know what I mean? Or a dog pooed on his lawn, or
whatever pretense. But it's just awkward, isn't it? I mean, I was going to say, what did you do once you'd gone through the village? I didn't mean that.
She meant driven through the village on your bike.
I mean, like, when you'd exhausted the village, if you know what I mean.
I then moved to London.
Started again.
Yeah, but then, you know, when you live in a big city like London, you never really bump into, like, old lovers, do you? They say.
Yeah. But that's the thing. While it's good, it's all well and good. They're just up the road. You can pop in and see each other. It's all easy. But once it goes bad, you're avoiding roads. You're ducking under bushes. You've
just got to sell up and move on.
You've got to move.
There is something in a sort of locally of having, like, the hottest boy or girl, isn't it? If you're the one who managed... But you had the hottest boy, didn't you?
Of course I did.
Of course she did.
I was so desperate, no boy would look at me. I just used to run around looking for action men so I could take their pants off. I'm not even joking.
That probably seems like a good time.
Yeah.
That's
a whole other story.
Yeah. Thank you for that confession. That is it for today, and indeed for this week. Next week, we have Michael Greco, Stacey Dooley, Hollyoaks, Sarah Jane Dunn, and Kirsty Gallagher are all going to be right here. And big news, one of Britain's biggest pop bands is reuniting. But who is it? Is it? Oh, it's not, is it? You're going to have to join us on Monday to find out when they make the big announcement exclusively here. Maybe it's the Saturday.
Oh, I stole your joke.